Okay, we are gonna continue. Welcome back. I'm assuming you've watched part one. I'm gonna use the same file here. Uh, Apologies if I make any kind of mistakes. It's a little late for me. It's past my bedtime, so I'm gonna go over kind of the rest of the project for you guys, and then I don't know if there'll be a part three. It depends how long this takes. So, without further ado, let's get into her. All right. So, where we left off, we created our volumetric surface. We have a finished grade, and we have an existing grade, and we have this road profile, which isn't really useful. So now we need to connect our parking lot. I'm just turning this surface off if you're wondering. Now we need to connect our parking lot to the road. And this is all up to you where you decide to connect your parking lot. To ensure that you're not going to copy me, I'm going to do kind of a really ridiculous road, but the process is the same. If it's like this, you want a short road, definitely connect it here, up to you. So for the process that I'm going to do, I am going to make kind of a silly road, so you don't copy me, but it's a very similar process. So to make your road, you want it to kind of line up with one of these laneways, and you also want it to be perpendicular to Innovation Drive. So to do that, you see how I drew just a polyline between these two lanes? If you have midpoint selected in your grip there, it's down here, hit that arrow, midpoint, you can select the middle of that line, and I'm going to draw a line from the middle of this laneway perpendicular to it, and I'm going to make this, kind of another color. Let's say yellow. Sure. So that's going to be the center line of the road that I am about to build. So I'm going to connect it down here. You can see how it's kind of like a really silly road. You would never design it like this, but I'm going to, just so you don't copy me. Okay, so that's kind of the center line of the road. You can use an extents command to connect it to whatever design you want. And I'm going to trim what I don't need. Now, a command that Paul might not have shown you is if you want to match a property, say like the color or this line type, to like another object that you've drawn. So like I want this red line to be yellow, for instance. You can select the source of the line that you're drawing, type MA for match properties, and then you can pick whatever you want to be it'll just look like the thing that you've selected. It's a nice little trick that can save you time instead of going into, your properties, changing it all. It can be a little cumbersome. Okay, so I'm going to make sure this is all one solid line. Terrific. And let's chuck some bends in. So I want to make centerline turning radii or radiuses. Let's say a turning radius of 200 meters. You see how that kind of puts a nice little curve in there? Okay, awesome. I'm going to do, that tangent's significantly shorter. Okay, well then maybe I'll reduce that radius to say 100 meters. 100. Click on your next. Awesome. Okay, and repeat. Can we fit one? No. So if your radius is too big, you'll see how in your command, it says fillet radius is too large. That means you have to reduce your radius. So let's say it's 25. That should do it there. Yep. And then I'm going to do another one. Nope, too large again. Okay, well, how about 15? Oh, okay. And I'm just going to change the line type of the center line to center. Might be too spaced out. If your line type looks like it's too large, you can always change the scale of the line type. You know, scale it by a factor of 10 or whatever you want to make it kind of look a little bit better. Okay, so there is kind of our polyline, which is going to act as the center line of our road. What I like to do is, I don't think we actually have to grade this. So Paul has asked for, I believe it's a 6 meter wide road that he wants. So you can offset that 3 meters on each side. There you go. And that's going to be your road on each side. You can change the side of it to match, maybe we'll put this in red and change the line type again to continuous. Okay, let's see. I think he also wants, what does he want? I have his thing open here. There's something to do with a table regarding your center line of your road. I'm just looking for it now. Here it is. Okay. Okay. So we need an alignment table, beginning of project, point of intersection with the radius, end of project, and the stationing. Okay. That's pretty simple to do. So we've already drawn our center line here. So up in the top, we're going to create this as an alignment from objects. Smack that. You see how that arrow is pointing down? So that means the stationing is going to start here at 0 and go that way. We should probably start it at the road. Most roads, they start at the center line of whatever road they're connecting to, and then they work their way. Sometimes it depends. So if this is facing the wrong way, notice down here, press enter to accept the alignment direction, or you can reverse it. Hit R. That's going to reverse it there. So we'll just call this road. Awesome. Make sure that's clicked off. We'll have alignment labels. Looks like it's going to be a table. And erase existing entities. Sure. It's up to you if you want to choose that. Okay, cool. So you see how that put in nicely. We have our beginning stationing. I put in probably too many curves, but you get the gist of it. Your curve might only have, maybe it's just like one simple curve. I put 3. So from that, we can actually create our table right from this alignment. And I believe if you go to annotate, we're going to add tables, alignment. I think it's this. Let's find out. I'm just kind of going to wing this, I think. Okay. Let's do some investigating here. Style, basic. Let's see. Paul likes to use those HRM things. Maybe that'll do it. Hit OK. Oh, all right. Standard. No. Basic. No. Okay. What happens if we select all of these? Okay. Well, that didn't work. Oh. This should curve table, maybe? No valid selection. Odd. Okay, whatever. Sorry to waste your time. But we do need an alignment table Interesting how we're going to do that. Alignment. Okay, hang on a sec. I'm going to pause the recording here. Okay, that took me a little bit longer than I would like to admit, but I found a way to score some bonus points with Paul. He's going to love this. So there is a way for you to automatically populate a road alignment table. It's a little bit complicated. So you have your alignment, right? You just drew it. You have the stationing for it. So what you're going to do, and please follow this pretty carefully, is select your alignment. You're going to add single segments. So these are going to add little codes for your curves and your lines. So click that guy. It's going to ask you to select a point on your entity and just select as you go down. So that's L1. You see it's upside down, but select L1. You select this curve, C1, and make your way through your alignment. And it just populates little codes that you can use. Okay, so that's the first step. Next step is you're going to add an alignment, add a segment table. And Paul has a nice little HRM alignment table that I don't know if he purposely gave it to everybody, but it's there and you should have it. So hit OK and look at that. Hey, you see how there's an ID? You can click and put this like anywhere, so I'll click and put that there, but isn't that beautiful? So that has the code L1. I'll double up my viewport here. If you ever want two views at the same time, by the way, see that little plus in the top left corner? If you double click it, gets rid of your double viewport. However, if you click that minus viewport configuration, you could like get 4. Let's see what 4 looks like. Yeah, like pretty complicated, right? Probably way more than you need. But if you wanted two views at once, oops, two views at once, hit 2 vertical, and then you can kind of pan over to one spot while keeping it on another area. And it's good for multitasking if you have a big enough monitor. If not, no biggie. Okay, so that is one thing that you'll probably need for your design. Okay, what's next on the to-do list? So you have your road, you have your parking lot grading. Now we want to do our quick profiles. So your quick profiles, Paul does a thing called quick profiles. What I'm going to do is maybe something a little bit easier. I'm going to draw a line right through the middle of our parking lot. Hit enter when you're done. You see how there's a nice line there? I'll make it a different color so you can see it. We'll make it green. Okay, that's green. And then we're going to do it on the other side too. Okay, terrific. So these are going to be acting as our cross sections that are going to cut kind of through and show us cross sections of the finished grade over top or underneath our existing grade. So to do that, very similar to the road we just created, we're going to select that line that we've drawn, do that from objects. Let's see, it doesn't really matter which way you're going, but I think maybe we should have it pointing north. So let's reverse it. We're going to call this one long cross section. We can erase the existing. We don't need labels on this, so let's get rid of the labels. And we're going to set that to a no display. It'll still be there, and this is going to get rid of that green line, but you'll see in a little bit, you probably don't want the green line cutting through it. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing for the short one, same process. Okay. No labels, yep, okay, cool. All right, the next thing that we're going to do is create surface profiles for those alignments that are hidden. To do that, we're going to do a thing called create surface profile. I'll just go over that again. Profile, click on it, create surface profile, bam. Okay, so we have alignments. You could do one for your road, this guy, but we don't want it. We don't have to do that. So we'll do long cross section, and that's going to ask you what surfaces you're going to sample. So it's going to sample the existing grade at each interval for 2 surfaces. So we're going to do finished grade, and we're going to do original grade. Kind of expand this window open a little bit. Let's see what we're dealing with. Change one of these styles. So you have OG for HRM existing. Okay, that can stay. But we're going to change this. It's going to prompt you to do, I think, proposed. Proposed is finished grade. That's what we're drawing. So before you hit OK, don't hit OK. We're going to actually do a little bit of a quick thing and call it to draw in profile view. So that still kept the parameters that we want. But now we're going to be able to just automatically create a profile view from the surface profiles that we've created. You want the 1-to-1 selected. The other one I think is like a 10 times exaggerated vertical, which isn't what Paul wants. So let's hit next. Okay, that's just saying how long the stationing is going to be. You know, it's going to be all the way. Okay, next. What height is the profile going to be? Well, we'll just leave it at an automatic, and then it'll have display options. Let's get rid of data bands. Oh, okay, it has no band set. Terrific. And you could put in hatching and stuff, but that's not really important. Okay, so now you need to select a spot to place that profile. Let's put it next to our table here. All right, cool. Looks kind of gross with all of those grid lines. So I believe Paul wants those turned off. You can freeze them. Oh, okay, never mind. That just completely freezes the thing. We'll have to edit the profile view style, not the properties, the view style. Okay. That's going to bring open another area. This is how styles look. The properties are kind of how things behave. This is how they are appearing. And you can change a bunch of colors. You can turn a bunch of stuff on or off. But what we're going to do is go to this area called grid and hit that light bulb to turn those off. You see how that just turned off in the background? Back on, back off, on, off, on, off. Cool. Okay, so that's our long cross section. Looks pretty good to me. We're going to do the same process for the short one. So again, create a surface profile. Now it's going to be short cross section. Finished grade, yep. Original grade, yep. We're going to change the style of the finished grade. Proposed, okay. Draw on the profile view. Here we go. All right, pretty much the same parameters. Yep, yep, okay. Sweet, let's create it. Bam, look at that. Now you got your profile views, all nice and looking sleek. Not too bad, huh? So, I think, what else does Mr. Burgess want? So, you got your create grading surface and infill. Awesome. Yep, you guys did that. Profiles, yep. Volume analysis. Yes. One thing that we kind of glossed over. We need to make a surface What was the project that, or the assignment that we did that on? Question, oh, what was it? Oh, it was the midterm. You had to analyze a surface to make sure that the slopes were like, are they over 20%? And they should have been. So we're going to do that with the parking lot that we did. So you could do your finished grade, but then it's also going to show you kind of like your grades are going to be like too steep for the grading. So you can do another surface called just straight up parking lot. And let's populate that surface before we get too carried away. It's the same feature line. You can do this as many times as you want. It's the same information. You can have as many surfaces. You can have as many volumes. It's all up to you. So I'm going to go kind of quick on this just because this is stuff you should already know. But don't feel bad if you have to slow it down. 3, yep, okay. Hey. That's weird. Oh, okay. I guess we only have one slope there, huh? Interesting. Yeah, all right, well, just call that green, I suppose. So when he analyzes your drawing, you have to submit your drawing file, by the way, with this project. So he's probably going to check your slope analysis of your parking lot, and he'll determine if it makes sense or not. It wasn't a really good example. It was just one slope, but maybe you have a few different slopes. So it's very similar to the process of the midterm and a few of the assignments where you have a different range of slopes, and you just have to make sure they are within the parameters that Paul wants. Okay, I'll turn that back off. Cool. So you did that. What's next on the list? Lay out your access road. Adjust that. Geez, we pretty much did all that, didn't we? Dimension your parking lot and quick profiles. And plot your slope constraints, layout, and quick profile sheets to a PDF. All right, well, you know, that might be pretty close to being done apart from setting these guys up. Ooh, hello. Let's see, let me just take a look in case we've forgotten anything. Yeah, that's the slope analysis for the existing grade, and then also do a slope analysis for your finished grade to demonstrate that all areas are within these parameters. And I know you guys are going to do that. Yep. So I'm not going to go over the cost estimate in my videos. They're pretty straightforward, guys. There's a cross section here. I think it's actually it's by cubic meter. So you use your volume that you created, right? You know, oh wait, actually, now I just think about it. Oh wait, you know what? Just use your area and then multiply it by, this is for the gravels. I think it's just by square meter. In the real world, if you're curious, you would pretty much just multiply it by the square meter. Sometimes there's way more complicated ways to get your volumes, which is not kind of this way. They're called corridors, and I'm not going to get into them because they are a little bit more advanced. I might do it just in case anyone's kind of curious. I'll make a corridor of this road just to show you what they do. But it is definitely not within the project parameters, so we won't do them. So yeah, your cost estimate is going to be like your excavation, your borrow, and your waste. That's all from your volume that you've calculated. And then your asphalt and your gravels, that's your straight up square meterage. So pretty easy, you know, put that in a spreadsheet. And these are the plans you need. So I'll just kind of go over the constraints here. Okay, so you might notice that, what the fuck, there's no viewport. How am I gonna show what Paul wants? So you might have also noticed up here, there's layout tools. Anytime you kind of switch from model space to paper space, some blue ribbons will pop up. These are pretty useful. You can create different things. Geolocation, not really relevant for what we're doing. Even this layout isn't quite useful, so just go to layout tools. And what we're going to do is create a nice good old viewport, which is going to be rectangular. So hit that button. It's going to ask you for the corners. This is basically like drawing a window into what we've drawn in model space. So nice little window here. Okay, cool. That just populated. And it looks pretty fucking crowded, doesn't it? So just zoom in until you have a nice little area. I think he wants the scale 1 to 1,000. If you're wondering how to kind of make these points smaller, but if you still want to see them, just type RE for regen, and that'll do that. These points are dependent on the scale in the bottom of the corner. So every time you change the scale, you can see that the points get bigger or smaller. So like, for instance, 1 to 20. Oops, pretty small, eh? Right? So 1 to 1,000, that's probably what he wants. And when you have your area set up, make sure you lock it. It can be very annoying if you're trying to zoom in and this is unlocked and you see how that fucks up the scale now. Kind of annoying. So just make sure you set it to 1,000, lock it, and drop it. Okay, so the first thing that Paul wants is a constraints plan. That's these areas here. You probably don't need all these points on, so turn them off. All right, we're going to go to properties. We're going to set these at none, and we're going to set, you can put them on no display. You can put them on none too. That'll get rid of them. Do that for the original grade too. Some companies like to have the topo points on plans. They can crowd and make things very, very crowded. So if you have a crowded plan, then it increases the risk of important information being either misread, hidden, or just flat out illegible. So it depends on the company. Some companies have different standards for their drafting, and you will have to ask them what they like. Okay, but one thing we should probably put on here is our motherfucking contours. Yeah. Oh, that looks pretty good. Oh, I'm going to show you guys another quick trick that you might actually appreciate. So we're going to label all these contours, and it's going to be real quick. So to do that, we're going to go up here, annotate, add labels, surface, and we're going to do contours, multiple. So it's going to ask you, what surface do you want to label? And make sure you select your existing grade. If you select your finished grade, it's going to choose that surface to put contours. So select that guy. And then it's going to ask you to specify your first point and pretty much just draw like it's an imaginary line, and it's just going to put those nice looking contour lines on there, and it just shows you the elevations of what you're doing. So try not to have too many. Another shortcut, if you want to like repeat the command that you just did, hit enter. If you just hit enter, it repeats the command for you. But we still have to, we're still prompted to select our existing grade. So let's do that here. I'm going to put a few more. This is kind of overzealous of what Paul is expecting, but it might look nice. And, you know, he is marking, I think, for neatness and presentation. So every little bit might help. To get rid of these stupid looking lines, select your contour, like snake that you've drawn up here. Display contour, I think it's like label line or whatever. Just hit false, and that gets rid of that for you. So that looks pretty good. One thing you can do is you could make these areas, you know, in the first video we kind of highlighted these areas. You could hatch them. I'm not going to. You could. It's up to you. Just to say, hey, these areas are 20% or greater. Another thing you should do is put in some labels. So labels can be either done in the annotate tab. You can put in multi-leaders. This is just like text with an arrow. Make sure that the layer is set to like 0.2. I think that's what HRM like to use in terms of layering their annotative text. I'm pretty tired, guys. I apologize if I don't have as much pep to my speaking, but yeah, she's getting late. Yeah, so you could do like, hey, this is fucking road sec, and then this, you could label this as too steep for me, and then maybe, I mean, you already have Innovation Drive. Another way that you can label stuff, if you don't want this arrow, you could just do a thing called text. I think you know what text is. You could do just by like copying this and just, you know, placing it over whatever you want. I like using MText. It can just do multiple lines. That's the difference. They're pretty similar, but they're not quite the same. So let's do like property boundary. That seems pretty important, right? So just go through the parameters that Paul wants you to use to model stuff. You can change the size of your text. If you're in the properties, it's called text height. Maybe make that 2. You probably don't need it too large, right? Like that's pretty big too. You could reduce the size of that. So you could do property boundary, and I think he wants you to do dimensions too. So what did we do? We did a 10 meter offset, you know, F3, there that is again to put your snap on. Very useful. And yeah, what was that, 10? Make sure you, if you're gonna label this or dimension this, maybe just call this, oops. Sometimes if you click within your viewport, it transports you to model space. Just, yeah, I'll do it again just to reiterate. So paper space, if you double click within, now you're in model space. Now you can like select the stuff as if you were in here. To get out of it, bam, just click outside of it. Okay, back to this. You could call this property buffer or offset. They do the same thing. And then we'll do it over here too, because they are different. Okay. What else does he want? Probably some dimensions, I'd imagine. Yeah. So, kind of just follow that, actually. I'm not going to do that. But I think you guys get the gist of it, right? Like, label the parking spaces. Oh, that'd be another good thing to add, by the way. Say, hey, each row is 20 spaces, and then maybe off to the side. Oh, but put it on your site plan. Don't put it on your constraints plan. You're going to probably only want like this buffer, the slopes analysis, and the existing grade on your constraints plan. So, okay, how do you get rid of the stuff while still keeping it? Nice little thing. You can freeze layers. This snowflake. Just click that guy, and you can just. Oops, is that not selecting? Okay, maybe you have to go within, and that's just going to freeze stuff. See, but if we go back, hey, still there. Don't worry. It just is another filter. You can filter things that you don't need, etc., etc. And maybe use some more text. Just like really nail it home what Paul would like from this PowerPoint. Really dissect it, go through it, right? These are your design constraints, so that's not on the, yeah, like look at some of these, like, did give you quite a few examples, but like they're never really going to be just rectangles, you know, in the real world. But I know for the fact for this project, just make it a rectangle and call it a day. You know, you might get like a solid 80 on it, and that might be all you want, and that's fine. If you really want like a high mark, use your creativity and try to emulate something like that. You see how there's, you know, there's middle spaces, there's laneways that it's like it actually flows if you were to drive through it, right? Here, some parking lots in Nova Scotia are like this, right? You just fucking drive through it, but there's no real like road or laneway to kind of go through it. But it depends how much effort you're willing to put into this, what time you're doing it at. If you're doing this December 15th, well then A, you're stupid because you should be studying mechanics and materials, and then B, you waited a long time. I'm sorry, but you know, things happen. So in the real world, you would probably, you know, make these aisles for the cars to go through, but time can be our enemy sometimes. So it's the same idea for each of these. Now this is going to be your actual driveway. If for whatever reason, I'll show you how to rotate your viewport. For whatever reason, Paul gets you guys in the video to rotate your entire model space. I don't think that's a very good idea because you can just do it in your viewport instead. So to do that, it's actually the same command, UCS, and then we are going to say we want our X direction to face pointing up, like north. So we kind of want it to rotate almost 90 degrees. Big thing, if you're doing UCS, absolutely do not pick a contour line. If you do that, it will fuck it up. And I'll show you what it does after we orient our viewport better. Okay, so you just did UCS, but nothing has changed. So type plan, and then hit C for current. See how it just rotated everything? Fucking everything too, eh? Like our tables rotated, our cross sections are rotated, everything is rotated. So if you like start doing, like maybe you made your table and made your cross section in model space, and then Paul's like, hey, you should rotate this. It's going to rotate everything else too, which is just annoying. So don't do it. This does the same thing. And then you can just zoom in again, type RE for regen. Wasn't quite perpendicular. You can, you know, select this, but make sure it's not selected a feature line or a contour. So if you select, I was telling a student this before the test last week, if you select a contour, you see how that like really fucked up the X dimension? And now it's in the Z. Look at this, right? Look at the angle we're looking at based off the view cube. It's you just don't want to do it, okay? And just make sure you're paying attention to what you're selecting. Another thing not to select are feature lines, because they're also changing. They're not flat, right? They're not 0, 0 elevation. They are whatever the grades are. So maybe just display order and send that to the back so that you can, so that you can select. Oh, we must have we must have deleted the perimeter. But you could also select, maybe the parking space. The world's your oyster. Plan, current, regen. Look at that. Now it's nice and perpendicular. Okay. So if it's 1 to 2,000, I don't know. I guess he wants different scales. So, I guess I'll go over that too. If you need to create a scale that maybe it doesn't have, you can just do custom. It's going to prompt you to, you could change a bunch of things, but you should notice a 1 to 500 scale is 1 paper millimeter to half a drawing meter. So a 1 to 1,000 is a 1 to 1, 1 millimeter to 1 meter. So we're going to do 1 to 2,000. Yeah, it's exactly what you think. 1 equals 2. So we're going to add 1 to 2,000 scale, chuck that as 2. So if you wanted to do, like, say, 1 to 5,000, that is what that is. If you wanted to do 1 to 150, 0.15. Okay, a lot of options that you can do, but just don't pick like a random scale. Your scale is very important for any kind of drafting or deliverables that you do. So like if you're doing pretty much anything but geotech, if you're doing structural engineering, you're gonna have construction drawings, which is what your company is going to be bidding or creating so that they can win tenders, like tender packages. Those are just contracts. It's how the engineering firms, they get paid and how you get paid. And as an engineer, you're responsible for coming up and checking what your drafter is going to be doing. So it's pretty important that you guys are on the same page. And if you notice, some drafters are really shitty. And I was so shitty when I started my career. It took me a long time to kind of work my way through, and I had some pretty bad write-ups starting out, and it kind of forced me to step my game up a little bit and to try to put a little bit more effort into engineering. And ultimately, I'm not a drafter anymore, but it does take time when you first get your co-op job and when you first, oh geez, yeah, 1 to 2,000, pretty far away. I don't know why. Don't do that scale. That's too far away. In fact, even that's pretty far away, right? One thing you might have noticed, if you have a locked viewport and you're in model space, you can't move it around. You can unlock it and move it around, or you can just change the window of it, right? That kind of moves it around too. And then you can just move it to wherever you like. I'm not going to go over the cross sections video, guys, or the section. It's essentially the same idea. Make your viewport, snip it to this, get your cross section, maybe chuck a few labels on it, call the green dashed line existing grade, call this solid line finished grade, okay? And that's oops, yeah, that's that thing Martin sent me. Yeah, so that's the drafting aspect of the course or the project. I really hope it's helpful. I'm not really going to be able to spend too much time answering any of your questions to do this, because again, we have to produce these drawings, but we also have to do a preliminary design report. We have to do a cost estimate. That shouldn't take you too long though, that's just a spreadsheet. We also have to do like a final report too. Like, it is a lot of work, and I'm done my design, but I still need to do my, wait, what? That's weird, right? Like, you must also submit the following: these plans, quantity and cost estimate. But like, where's the report? Oh, okay, down here, I guess. Adhere to submission schedule. Project justification. Constraints plan. Requirements. Presentation. So you can see the technical requirements and presentation, as well as your cost, I guess. That is most of your grade. So I hope that this second half of the video is helpful. Again, if it is helpful and you're like, hey, Brett, take my money, this is my email. But I don't ask for money, even though I do kind of plug my email. Just a simple thank you is more than enough. It makes me happy to help people to kind of learn this stuff. And I know it's an incredibly stressful time of year with exams going on, projects being due, especially if you don't have a good partner, or 3 good partners for that matter. Don't get me started. And if I can just help out any way I can, and help you guys pass surveying so you don't have to take it again, and that saves you money, then awesome. That makes me happy. And I like seeing other people succeed, and you should too. So that's it. Good luck, and I hope to catch you around school. I'm going to be at the tea room after exams are done, getting shit-faced, so maybe some of you want to join. Maybe some of you want to cry. Time will tell.